Once upon a time, in a beautiful and bountiful faraway kingdom, located between rolling hills and sparkling rivers, there lived a princess named Effia. She was known throughout the land for her beauty and also for her pride. Effia lived in a magnificent palace with her father, the wise King Kwesi. Every morning, she would stand before her golden mirror and admire herself. "Oh, mirror, isn't it true that I'm the most beautiful and talented princess in all the land?" she would ask, and every day, blinded by her own reflection, she would answer herself, "Of course I am. No one can compare to me." But while Effia admired herself, the people in the village below the palace worked hard, laughed together, and helped each other. They lived simple but happy lives. One fateful day, as Effia stood before her mirror, a sudden tremor shook the palace. The golden mirror crashed to the floor, shattering into countless pieces. Effia stared in horror at the broken shards, her perfect reflection now fragmented and distorted. "Guards!" she screamed. "Bring me a new mirror at once." As the guards rushed to fulfill her demands, a peculiar woman appeared in Effia's chamber out of thin air. Her wrinkled face was kind, but her eyes held a mysterious gleam. "Who are you?" Effia demanded. "How dare you enter my chambers uninvited?" The old woman smiled. "I am Amansi, the keeper of stories and lessons. Your broken mirror is no accident, proud princess. It is time for you to see beyond your own reflection." Before Effia could respond, Amansi waved at her, and the room began to spin. Effia felt herself falling until she landed with a thud on the hard-packed earth. She looked around in confusion. Gone was her luxury chamber, replaced by a humble hut. "Where am I?" Effia cried out, but Amansi had vanished. A young man poked his head into the hut. "Adowa, are you all right? We heard a noise." Effia opened her mouth to correct him, to declare that she was Princess Effia, not Adowa. But when she spoke, the words that came out was not her own. "I am fine, Kwaku. Just trip, that's all." Realization dawned on Effia. Somehow, she had been transported into the body of a village girl named Adowa. She could control her actions, but not her words. She was living someone else's life. Wow, Effia was surprised. "Well, hurry up," Kwaku said with a smile. "The fields won't plough themselves, and we need a good harvest this year." Effia, trapped in Adowa's body, had no choice but to follow Kwaku to the fields. The work was back-breaking, nothing like the delicate needlework she was used to. By midday, her hands were blistered, her back ached, and sweat poured down her face. "How do you stand this?" She wanted to scream, but Adowa's voice just laughed and joked with Kwaku as they walked. Days passed, and Effia experienced life as Adowa. She felt the girl's joy in a simple pleasure, a cool drink of water after a hard work, the satisfaction of seeing seeds sprout, the warmth of friendship around evening fire. But she felt Adowa's pain, hunger when the harvest was poor, fear when the sickness swept through the village, sorrow when a beloved elder passed away. Just as Effia was beginning to adapt to this new life, everything changed again. She went to sleep in Adowa's hut and woke up in a grand bedroom, but not her own. She was now in the body of Lady Ya, wife to a wealthy merchant. Lady Ya's life was one of luxury, but also of constraint. Effia felt the lady's frustration at being confined to the house, her loneliness as her husband traveled for months at a time, her fear of displeasing her powerful in-laws. And so it went. Every few days, Effia would find herself in a new life. She was a struggling widow trying to fend and feed her children, a young boy working as an apprentice to a strict master, an old man respected for his wisdom but worried about becoming a burden to his family. With each life, Effia learned. She learned of hardship and perseverance, of love and loss, of the strength found in community and the peace found in purpose. She began to see the world through the eyes of others than her own, to understand the struggles and joys of those she had once dismissed. Months passed in this way, though in real world only hours had gone by. Finally, Effia found herself back in her real body, standing before the shattered remains of her golden mirror. Amansi appeared beside her. "What was that?" Effia asked, her voice trembling. "Was it all a dream?" Amansi smiled. "A dream, a vision, a journey of the soul. Call it whatever you will. The question is, Princess Effia, have you really learned?" Effia looked down at the broken mirror, seeing her reflection fragmented across hundreds of shades. Instead of the imperfection she saw initially, she saw beauty in the way each piece reflected light differently, creating a dazzling display. "I've learned," Effia said slowly, "that there is beauty and worth in every life, not just my own. That hardship can bring strength, and that true happiness comes not from admiring oneself, but from connecting with others and finding purpose." Amansi nodded approvingly. "A good start, princess, but learning is not enough. What will you do with this knowledge?" Effia straightened her shoulders, a new determination in her eyes. "I will change. I will learn to be a true leader for my people. But I don't know how." "Then perhaps it's time you truly meet your people," Amansi said, with a wave of her hand. Effia's fine gown was replaced by simple village clothes. "Go, live among them, not as a princess, but as one of them. When you can see the princess in every village girl and the village girl in yourself, then you will be ready to lead." With that, Amansi disappeared, leaving Effia alone with her broken mirror and new resolution. Disguised as a village girl, Effia slipped out of the palace and made her way to the village. She introduced herself as Amma, a girl from a distant village seeking work. The kind-hearted villagers took her in, and Effia found herself living the life she had only experienced in visions. The transition was hard. Used to the silk sheets, Effia now slept on the straw mat. Her once soft hands became hard from work, and her fair skin tanned under the sun. Many nights she cried herself to sleep, missing the comfort of her old life. But each morning she forced herself to get up and try again, remembering the lessons she had learned. Kwaku, the same young man she had met as Adowa in her vision, took Effia under his wing. He taught her to farm, to cook, to weave baskets. More importantly, he showed her kindness and patience, never mocking her for lack of skills, but always encouraging her to keep going. Slowly, Effia began to change. She learned to find joy in small things: a smile from a child she had helped, the taste of the bread she had baked herself, the quiet beauty of a sunset after a long day's work. She began to understand the villagers' struggles and dreams, their fears and hopes. But life in the village wasn't all hardship and lessons. There were laughter too, and celebration. Effia experienced her first harvest festival, dancing and singing with abandon. She joined in village games, no longer caring about winning but enjoying every bit of it. She even found herself developing feelings for Kwaku. His kindness and strength touching her heart in a way no suitor's flattery ever had. As months passed, Effia became a true part of the village. She was no longer play acting at being a villager, she had become one. She cared deeply for her new friends, worked hard alongside them, and began to use her natural intelligence and leadership skills to help the community. When a drought threatened their crops, it was Effia who suggested digging a new irrigation canal. When sickness swept through the village, she remembered the herbs her royal physician had used on her to create medicine. Her fellow villagers began to look to her for advice and leadership, never suspecting her real identity. But even as Effia found happiness in her new life, she couldn't forget her responsibility as a princess. She saw now, more clearly than ever, the way in which the royal policies affected the villagers. She understood what needed to be done, but she grappled with how to make those changes happen. One day, nearly a year after she had left the palace, Effia overheard troubling news. King Kwesi has fallen ill, and the kingdom was in turmoil. Many wicked princes and the nobles were taking advantage of the king's weakness to exploit the common people. Taxes were rising, and there were rumors of rebellion. Effia knew it was time to return. With a heavy heart, she said goodbye to Paku and her friends, promising to return but unable to explain why she had to leave. Slipping back into the palace was easier than she had expected. In her simple clothes, her thin skin, none of the guards recognized her. It wasn't until she entered her father's sick room and spoke that King Kwesi realized his daughter had returned. "Effia," he said weakly, his eyes wild with disbelief. "Is this really you?" Effia rushed to her father's side, tears in her eyes. "Yes, father, it's me. I am so sorry I left, but I have learned so much, and now I am ready to make things right." Over the next few days, as King Kwesi regained his strength, Effia told him everything: Amansi's lesson, her time in the village, and all that she had learned. She spoke passionately about the changes needed in the kingdom, about the potential she saw in their people. King Kwesi listened in amazement, seeing his daughter's new eyes. "You've grown so much, Effia," he said proudly. "You are ready to become a leader this kingdom needs." Together, Effia and her father began to implement changes. They lowered taxes, invested in infrastructure to help farmers, and created a group that included village representatives. Effia, with her unique perspective of having lived both as a royalty and a commoner, was able to bridge the gap between the palace and the people. But Effia's greatest challenge was yet to come. As she worked to improve the kingdom, she couldn't forget Kwaku and her friends in the village. They must have heard by now that their friend, Ama, was really the princess. Would they feel betrayed? Would they think everything had been a lie? Gathering her courage, Effia returned to the village, this time as herself. The villagers were indeed shocked, some angry, some hurt. Kwaku especially felt betrayed. "Was any of this real?" he asked, pain evident in his eyes. "Or were we just some royal game to you?" Effia's heart ached at his words. "It was all real," she said earnestly. "Every friendship, every moment of joy and hardship, every feeling. I came here in disguise, but the person I became, the person I am now, that is the real me. The old Effia, the proud princess who cared for no one but herself, she had gone. Because of you, because of all of you, I have learned what truly matters in life." Her sincerity touched the villagers. Gradually, they began to share their concerns, their hopes for the kingdom. Effia listened to each one, not as a princess honoring her subject, but as a friend and equal who genuinely cared. As the sun set on that emotional day, Kwaku pulled Effia aside. I understand why you did what you did, he said softly, and I'm proud of the person you've become. But where do we go from here? You are still a princess, and I am still a village farmer. Effia took his hand, her heart racing. I don't have all the answers, she admitted, but I know that the person I am now, the leader I want to be, needs someone like you by my side. Someone to keep me grounded, to remind me always of the people I serve. If you are willing, we can figure out the rest together. Kwaku's slow smile was answer enough. In the years that followed, Princess Effia became known as the people's princess. She ruled with wisdom, compassion, and deep understanding of her subjects' life. Kwaku became her trusted advisor and eventually her husband, his practical knowledge balancing her visionary ideas. The kingdom flourished under their leadership, but more importantly, Effia had found true happiness not in admiring her reflection or receiving adulation, but working hard for the good of others, in cherishing relationships, and in continuously striving to learn and grow. And sometimes, on quiet evenings, Effia would look into a mirror and smile, remembering the proud princess she had once been, grateful for the journey that had broken her old reflection and had shown her a new way to see the world. And this is the end of our story. Thank you for your time. Till next time, take care of yourselves.